a mega blockbuster, that is Jawan, a movie that continues to be watched, loved by lots of people. In fact, crores and crores of people, has already minted about 300 crore rupees in the last 5 days, likely to surpass all possible records. My colleague Krishnakumar, walking into the studio, perhaps can give us a sense of what these numbers are and why these numbers are so encouraging and important for people who are avid movie goers and keep a track of how movies are doing, perhaps.
Right, absolutely, Shweta. You have a very good point to make on that. It's good for Jawan and it's been good for moviegoers and movie halls per se. We'll begin with Jawan, which is the latest in the series of back-to-back hits from Hindi cinema after Gadar 2 and OMG 2. The latest is that as of Tuesday, Jawan's worldwide box office collections has crossed the 600 crore rupee mark. And as far as its India collections are concerned, that is nearing the 350 crore rupee mark, which already means it's the fastest Hindi film to enter the 300 crore rupee club, beating Gadar 2 and beating his own previous film, Pathan, as well. Nearly 33 crore rupees collected, Shweta, for on the first working Monday or since Jawan's release. Jawan, bear in mind, released on Janmashtami on a Thursday. It had a 4-day long weekend, and then eventually on Monday when it reopened, the collections are still extremely high, 33 crore rupees. The advance bookings are already phenomenal. And on Tuesday too, the film is set to make around 26 crore rupees, which means that the Jawan juggernaut is just rolling on. It's not stopping. Incredible numbers for Jawan. We'll have to wait and watch as to where it's going to settle, how much more it's going to collect beyond Pathan, because bear in mind, to remind all the viewers, Pathan was the first and the only Hindi language film that crossed the 1,000 crore rupee mark at the box office. It collected 1,050 crore rupees by the time it wrapped up. It's showing in the cinemas. 600 crore rupees already worldwide gross box office collections, to be clear. We'll have to see where the numbers go. I mean, we're looking at least another packed weekend.
Right.
Minimum. People are still not getting tickets for Jawan.
Absolutely.
Bear in mind, there's lots of talk about, mixed reviews and all that. Nothing is mixed at the box office. The box office is pure, clean, super hit, electrifying start, and the momentum being sustained as well, Shweta.
All right. And in fact, we've been trying to speak to experts, and we'll be connecting with one very, very shortly on how critics are looking at box office being revived by the virtue of these big hits in the past at least couple of weeks. Because at the start of the year, Krishna, and you are somebody who tracks, I think, cinema business, and there was a, I think, void that perhaps was filled first by Pathan and now by Jawan, and in the middle you had good southern cinema as well. But for a very long time, that the void has resulted in box office losing money.
Absolutely, you couldn't have gotten it more right. Pathan was a silver lining in those dark clouds at the beginning of the year. So Pathan was the only film that did really well. But this quarter, Shweta, the last 3 months, the July to September quarter, as it were, has been fantastic for multiplexes across the world, for multiplexes across India, because of 3 back-to-back hits, as I've been mentioning, Gadar 2, OMG 2 and Jawan. And in fact, we understand that multiplex occupancies as of this quarter is the highest ever since COVID. In fact, multiplex occupancy levels are in fact beating pre-COVID levels. Okay. That's what we understand. In fact, we have Karan Taurani of Elara Capital now joining us for more on that. In fact, Elara Capital, Shweta, has put out a fantastic report on occupancy levels and earnings of multiplexes, movie chains in the country. Karan, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us. Simply talk to us and tell us, it's been an incredible quarter for cinema in India. How are the numbers stacking up?
Yeah, I think, definitely over the last, 2.5 months, traction for the multiplexes has been healthy. So I think what has happened in the post-COVID era is that Hindi content has not done well. I think this is one of the best quarters as far as Hindi content is concerned. Even when cinemas opened up, KGF 2 and films like RRR did well, but those were primarily regional films which were dubbed in Hindi. So the dubbed content actually performed well. But now you're seeing actually, quality Hindi content, original Hindi content doing well. So that's like a very good sign in terms of respite. Now, what has happened herein is that the nature of content has changed. If we look at the films that have done well over the last 3 to 6 months, as far as Hindi is concerned, these are clearly, franchise-driven films, Gadar 2, Oh My God 2 kind of films, or these are films which are VFX-led, where, Hollywood films have done well. or these are films which are with original stories, like the Spy franchise, Tiger. Then we've got recently Jawan doing well. This is also original story. So I think that thing of remakes of South language, English language is not there anymore. So there is a change, much needed change for the Hindi content, which is kind of having a positive impact in terms of occupancy and changing fortunes for the multiplexes.
Right, Karan, just sticking with that, Shweta is making a fantastic point as well about how Southern cinema has been doing well, and then comes Hindi cinema, so which means that multiplex chains across the country are raking in the moolah. All language films are becoming blockbusters.
So, just to put in some occupancy numbers here across language. So in the pre-COVID times, if you look at the numbers, I think we were getting an occupancy of somewhere close to about 20% plus on weekdays. And on weekends, specifically, you were getting occupancy in the range of, 40% plus, even 50%, when the films are good. That is the average annual occupancy, weekend and weekday numbers which are there. And if you do that split broadly, the multiplexes were at, somewhere close to 32-33% average annual occupancy. This is that number which I gave you on weekday and weekend. Now, what has happened in the post-COVID era is that these kind of numbers have not come back. I think we've seen, weekday occupancy going as low as 15%, 10 to 15% average. I'm talking about the annual average. And weekend occupancy annual average is generally being in the range of 20-25%. Reason for that is very clear that content was not doing well. You have got heavy dependence on large budget films. If you look at Hindi content, primarily small, medium budget content is not doing well. So you have to kind of move towards a high risk scenario when you're trying to depend on more films or rather less films which have to do well. So I think that's the problem area. As compared to pre-COVID times wherein you had more films doing well, your risk was spread across multiple films. So even if 5-10 films don't do well, you are eventually in a good situation. But right now, it is very important for the large budget films to actually perform in a very big way. So thankfully to their fortunes, I think in the last 2.5 months, Hindi content, Hollywood content, large budget films have performed. And that is why occupancy levels have moved, to kind of pre-COVID levels of 30 to 33%. So from that standpoint, I think definitely, there is a recovery, there is a respite. But whether or not this sustains, that is a big question mark, because it's going to be a tough ask for films to, do well so consistently. Because generally we've seen, content is cyclical in nature. You can't have every single large film doing well or having a success in terms of box office. So I think that is going to be a big ask. And I think one more big mega trend is going to be that the comeback of small, medium budget content. So once you see a comeback of small, medium budget content, I think occupancy levels can breach beyond pre-COVID levels, which will be another big positive surprise.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Karan, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us. Karan Taurani of Elara Capital, putting things into perspective. So all that box office talk we're doing here, Shweta, has been resulting in terms of cash registers ringing. PVR Inox, a listed company, said to have one of the best quarters since COVID era. So overall, great times at the box office. And as he was talking about, we need to keep this momentum sustaining. Also bear in mind, PVR is also said to have the highest profitability in a long time because ticket prices are up 15 to 20% since COVID levels, since pre-COVID. So which means, that for the same occupancy, you're earning more money. So profitability levels are high because ticket prices remain elevated. They haven't brought it down from before. So that's also good for a multiplex change. And as a
so you're shelling out more money. And as a result, I think, and the fact that you're still ready to shell out more money essentially alludes to the fact that people are more inclined to watch, no matter the cost.
Yeah, and Shweta, imagine we're discussing Hindi and regional cinema. What about Barbie and Oppenheimer and their contribution to multiplexes here in India? How many people in India went and thronged cinemas for Oppenheimer and Barbie? So we've had Hindi, Bollywood, Hollywood and South cinema doing well at multiplexes. Got to be a bumper quarter for the multiplexes, and hopefully the momentum sustains going forward, Shweta.
All right, and so we can finally say that the existing void, at least in this year, 2023, the start of this year, somewhere towards the middle of this year, has finally been filled. And filled how? With mega blockbusters from Oppenheimer, you have Pathan, you have a Jawan, you have a Jailer, and all of them super hit, perhaps, loved by people.
Absolutely, and fascinating different kinds of content is working. More willingness from people to go to the movie theater to sample all those different kind of. Look at the difference between an Oppenheimer and a Barbie. And in India, Oppenheimer made more money than Barbie, whereas Barbie made more money than Oppenheimer across the world. So the willingness of the Indian audience, they're language agnostic, they're genre agnostic. They're saying, give us a good film.
Just entertainment.
Give us a good film, well-made cinema. Jawan, for that instance, it might be a mindless commercial entertainer, but it is such a well-made film for that genre. It's done very well. Barbie, For that genre, best film possible. Oppenheimer, in that genre, best film possible. And I can go on. But that's what the audience has been vibing with, essentially.
Lovely. I think you've summed it up very beautifully. They're genre agnostic. They don't care about whether it's a Hindi, whether it's a Southern cinema, whether it's Hollywood, Bollywood. All they care about is good cinema and a good story, and a good story sells. And entertainment there for every person who's been seeking and waiting for that entertainment.